Okay, so we'll do a little bit of active stuff and then a little bit of restorative stuff. So just a little kind of mix. It's really warm today, isn't it? So this type of weather is perfect for kind of restorative work and for slower work. So just sit yourself on your lift and just feel that you can just wriggle about, just so that you're feeling that you're kind of level underneath your seat bones, and then grip around your knees and then just lift and open the chest, drive the chest upwards, draw the shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that doesn't move. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. As you inhale, feel that you expand upwards and outwards in the chest. As you exhale, feel that the chest lowers gently and just gently closes. So focusing on the sound of the breath as much as the movement of the breath. And then bring your hands into Namaste, pressing the palms firmly together, lengthening from the armpits into the elbows, drawing the elbows towards each other, lengthening from the heels of the hands up into the fingertips. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Softening your jaw, softening your tongue. And then just gently allow your eyes to softly close. Just focus on the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Listening to the sound of the breath. Softening your jaw, softening your tongue. Listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Hold on to that feeling as you release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards, and as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. So just grip around the fronts of the knees, elevate the chest upwards, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a good, strong, deep inhalation in through your nose. And with the exhalation, turn to the right side, drawing the abdomen from the left to the right, drawing the ribs across, drawing the shoulders across. Listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Using the out breath to intensify the turn. Come back to the center, grip around your knees. Lift and open the chest, drive the chest upwards. Take a good, strong, deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn to the left. Drawing the abdomen across, the ribs across, the shoulders across. Just listening to the sounds of the breath, using the out breath to intensify the turn. So maintaining your focus on the exhalation. And then just gently come back to the center. Come off your lift and then come down onto your knees into Adho Mukha Virasana. So sitting back on your heels, just let the shins kind of rest into the floor. So lengthen from the knee into the toes. So just adjust a little, see if you can lengthen from the knee all the way down the shin and into the toes. Lift and open the chest, pressing the shins down on the floor, and then come forwards, keeping the shins pressing firmly down, keeping the hands pressing firmly into the mat. Maintain the lift of the front chest as you come forward, lifting the chest, pressing the palms into the floor, and then gently come down, bring your head down onto the floor. See if you can maintain that connection between the seat bones and the heels. So lengthening the tailbone down towards your heels, just listening to the sound of your breath in through your nose and out through the nose. So pressing the palms into the floor, squeezing the outer elbows inwards, lengthening from the wrists into the armpits into the hips. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under and come up into dog down. Have to excuse the meowing of the cat. So breathe nice and softly in through your nose and out through your nose. Listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Tightening the kneecaps, hitting the thigh muscle firmly into the bone, lifting the seat bones up towards the ceiling. Pushing the palms firmly down into the floor so that you lift from the wrists up into the armpits up into the hips. And then just gently step forwards, come up into a standing position. Just come up into Uttanasana with the hands, with the feet nice and wide, turning the toes inwards, having the outside edge of your feet lining up with the edge of the mat. So turn your toes in and then lift and open the chest. Have the hands on the hips, squeeze your elbows together and then come forward, hinging at the hips, and then reach down, find the floor. If you can't reach the floor, then then use some blocks underneath your hands. So if you can't reach the floor, put blocks underneath your hands. So sharpen the action of the legs, tighten the kneecaps, lift the thigh muscle up towards the top of the groin, turning the thighs inwards, lifting the seat bones up away from the heels, projecting the chin, the chest, the abdomen away from the legs. Breathe in nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Listening to the sound of the breath. And then just gently bring your hands onto your hips and then come up into a standing position. Just come back into Tadasana, inner edge of the feet together. So it looks like Arthur's determined to take part today. So inner edge of the feet together, tighten the kneecaps, draw the thighs inwards, tuck the tailbone in, and then lift the chest, the front chest up towards the ceiling, drawing the shoulders down away from your ears. Take a good deep in breath in through your nose and then step or jump your feet apart, come into Trikonasana. So turn your left toes in, the right leg and foot all the way out. Before you go down, just see if you can feel that you kind of radiate out from the pelvis. So the pelvis is like your energy center and you can radiate out down into the feet from the pelvis. And then from the feet, you kind of stretch up into the pelvis. From the pelvis, you reach up into the chest. Pelvisizing Trikonasana, come down, find the shin. Broadening out from the pelvis, lifting and opening the chest. Breathing nice and softly, turning the chest up to face the ceiling, looking up towards the ceiling if there's no problems with your neck. So just bring your top hand onto your hip. So is that aggravating your shoulder? It looks like it's, yeah. So keep your hand on your hip, but try and rotate this hip towards this shoulder, sorry, towards the back of the room. Just come up onto your, just come up your leg a little higher. So you don't go down so low. Come up your leg and then lift here. So try and draw the, that's it. Draw the front chest upwards and then rotate the top shoulder back. Breathe in nice and softly. You can either keep your hand on your hip if it's uncomfortable for your shoulder, or then raise the arm up, look up, or look forwards, or look down, whichever feels okay. Okay, and then just come back to the center. Just have your hips, hands on your hips, and then swap your feet around, turn your right toes in, and the left leg and foot all the way out. Stretching out into the arms, and then come over onto the right side, just feeling the stretch on the hamstrings, on the front of the thigh, rotating the front of the thigh inwards, lifting and opening the chest. Again, you can keep that top hand on your hip if you want to, and then just work to rotate that top shoulder towards the wall behind you. So you keep lifting here, just look down as your head over your foot. That's always a good indication of your alignment. See if you can straighten that front leg as much as you can. Breathe in nice and softly. So reaching up with that top arm if you can, keep it on your hip if you can't. And then reach up, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, come back into Tadasana. So just breathe in nice and softly, in through the nose and out through the nose. Spread your toes. So spread the toes of your left foot, really broaden the left foot, and then just raise up the right knee for Vrksasana, the tree pose. So lift that knee up, but keep that standing leg really firm, tighten the kneecap, hit the thigh muscle firmly into the bone. Just see if you can lift and open the chest just with that knee raised. Find your balance. And then taking hold of the wall if you need to give yourself a bit of balance. Bring the foot up into the thigh. So if you've got something in front of you or behind you, just use that to kind of just give you balance, and then bring hands onto your hips and then lift and open the chest. So keeping that standing leg in Tadasana, tightening at the kneecap, lifting the thigh muscle, pushing the thigh muscle into the bone. See if you can lengthen from that inner groin into the inner knee. So bring that leg out to the side a little, but not at the expense of kind of disrupting the hips. So lengthen from the inner groin into the inner knee, and then squeeze this bent leg buttock bone, squeeze that forwards so that you open here in this side abdomen, and then raise your arms up. So Urdhva Hastasana ideally. I kind of run out of ceiling height here really, but ideally your arms should be kind of like this. Okay, and then release your arms, release your leg, and then just come onto the other side. Spread the toes of the right foot, tighten that kneecap, bring the right foot, sorry, the left foot up into the standing leg, using the whatever you need to balance. So keeping this standing leg really firmly in Tadasana, lengthening from this inner groin into the inner knee, squeezing the bent leg buttock bone forwards, and then raise the arms up. So this pose, Vrksasana, is the tree, and the tree grows upwards. So the direction of the pose is up, like you're an arrow pointing up towards the ceiling. Breathing nice and softly. Okay, and then just gently release the leg, release the arms. Get a couple of blocks where you can reach them. And then we're going to do Prasarita Padottanasana, then we'll do some kind of relaxation poses. So just stand in the middle of your mat and then step or jump, go as wide apart with your legs as you can. So Prasarita Padottanasana literally translates as wide feet. Turn your toes in, even if you have to bend your knees in order to do it, and then work to straighten the legs. So just like we were doing in Trikonasana, kind of radiate out from the pelvis down into the feet, from the feet up into the pelvis, from the pelvis up into the chest. Have your hands on your hips, squeeze an imaginary box of air with the elbows behind you. Try and hold on to that imaginary box of air. Lift and open the chest and then hinge at the hips. Keep the legs really straight. Keep the front chest really long as you come forward, and then either find the blocks, or if you can find the floor, come down all the way to the floor. So just breathe nice and softly. Soft in the jaw, soft in the tongue. So first of all, just identify where your weight is. Is your weight kind of collapsing into your hands? Or can you hit your legs back, turning those toes in a little more? Can you hit your legs back so that your weight goes into your heels? With your weight in your heels, I want you to see if you can lift the seat bones a little bit higher. And then from the bottom of the abdomen, drive that towards the diaphragm towards the collarbone towards the chin. Breathe nice and softly in through your nose and out through your nose. Okay, and then just gently bring your palms of the hands down. Just bend your knees and then step or jump your feet back together and then come back into Tadasana. Have the inner edge of the feet together and then raise your arms up. In Urdhva Hastasana, arms parallel, shoulders down away from your ears, palms of the hands facing each other. Just taking deep in breaths, deep out breaths. Okay, and then just gently release your arms and then come back down and sit back down onto the floor. Now we're going to do a little bit of seated pranayama. So it's usually better to sit yourself on a lift. So if you've got one of these meditation cushions, sit on that, or if you haven't, then you can sit on a folded blanket or just sit on whatever you have handy, so some blocks or a couple of bricks or whatever you've got, and then just have a little kind of move around. Just make sure that you feel kind of level underneath the seat bones. It's often useful to just roll over, move the buttock flesh back and out to the side, and then grip around your knees. So grip around your knees, feel that you're level underneath the seat bones. And then again, try and lift the front chest upwards, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears, feeling that the back chest draws downwards. The front chest draws up and the back chest draws down like a waterfall down the back. Gently soften your jaw, soften your tongue. Listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. You can close your eyes for a moment. So just listen to the sound of the breath at the nostrils and at the back of the throat. Just observing that the in-breath originates at the nostril region, at the front of the nostrils. The origin of the out-breath originates at the back of the throat. So the first stage of any pranayama is just the observation of the breath. Drawing your attention in towards the breath. Just listening to the sound of the breath. Listening at the nostrils and at the throat. Differentiating the sound of the in-breath and the sound of the out-breath. Maintaining the lift of the chest. So just at first, just feeling the sound of the breath. Breathing from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs on the in-breath. And from the top of the lungs to the bottom of the lungs with the out-breath. Feeling the upward and outward expansion of the chest with the in-breath. Feeling that you can soften the muscles around the shoulder blades in order that you can expand into the back chest as well as expand into the front chest. So we're still lifting and elevating the spine. We're just immobilizing the upper back muscles in order that the in-breath is free of restriction. That way we manage to hold on to more of the energy of the breath. Focusing on the expansion and the contraction of the chest with the in-breath, on the sound of the breath, on the feeling in the sinuses as you inhale and exhale. So on Monday, we did a little bit of Viloma Pranayama. So we're going to do a little bit of Viloma Pranayama again, but in a seated position. If this is uncomfortable for you to stay in a seated position, you can go down onto your back with a bolster underneath your back and come into Supta Baddha Konasana. Otherwise, just remain in cross legs. So Viloma Pranayama is the interrupted breath. So we're going to start with interrupted in-breath. And possibly the most useful way of kind of visualizing that breath is that you breathe from the perineum to the collarbone on the in-breath. And each time you inhale just a little bit, and then you stop on each rung of the ladder. So as you work towards full breaths, you kind of climb up the ladder until you're full at the top, and then you kind of climb down the ladder without stopping on the way down. So the interrupted in-breath. So it's like we breathe in for a couple of seconds and then hold and pause. And then without exhaling again, you inhale again, just filling the lungs up a little more. And then after a couple of seconds, you pause and hold. And then again, without exhaling, you breathe in again. And you pause and hold, and you continue in that way until the lungs feel like they're full. It could be 3 or 4 or maybe 5 stops. So close your eyes. Just drawing your breath back to drawing your attention back to the feeling of the breath. So we always start with a normal exhalation. And then after your next normal inhalation, you're going to breathe in gently for a few seconds and then hold and then continue in that manner until you run out, until you feel full, and then a normal exhalation, and then continuous cycles of interrupted in-breath. If that feels too strong for you, just do a cycle of interrupted in-breath and a normal out-breath, and then several normal out-breaths, and then go back to another cycle of interrupted in-breath. So close your eyes. Lift the chest, just normal breathing. And then take a good, deep, normal exhalation, and then start to interrupt the in-breath. So as you exhale fully, and then repeat the interrupted in-breath. Remember, there should be no strain around the chest, around the abdomen, around the forehead. It should be soft. So it's just a suspension of the breath rather than a grip. So continuous cycles or intermittent cycles. Just a few more cycles of interrupted in-breath. And then with the next exhalation, just bring the breath back to a normal rhythm, just normal in-breaths, normal out-breaths. Just go back to Ujjayi stage 1, where you just observe the breath. So Viloma stage 1 is a good preparation for learning how to extend the in-breath a little, so that we really engage with the energy of the breath. So we'll go on to stage 2, and it's up to you if you stay seated or you can go down into Supta Baddha Konasana with the bolster underneath your back. So I'm going to stay in a seated position. If you want to stay in a seated position, that's fine. But if you want to go down onto your back with the feet together, the knees apart, with the bolster underneath your back, then do that. Otherwise, just bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. So listen to the sound of the breath. There's no interruption. So the first stage is interrupted in-breath, and the second stage is normal in-breath and interrupted out-breath. So these poses help to level out blood pressure. The interrupted in-breath helps with low blood pressure. The interrupted out-breath helps with high blood pressure. So just normal in-breaths. As you inhale for Viloma, just breathe in as though you were doing stage 3 of Ujjayi Pranayama. So you listen to the sound of the breath. You breathe in slowly, deeply and steadily until the lungs feel full. And then you exhale a little and then hold for a couple of seconds and then continue to breathe out and then hold for a couple of seconds. This is all without breathing in between. And then you continue that way until you run out of breath, until the lungs are empty. And then a normal, deep, slow, deep, steady inhalation. Take a good inhalation and a deep, long exhalation. And then another inhalation, and then we're going to interrupt the out breath. Again, there should be no strain, there should be no tension, just a gentle suspension of the breath. And then a normal deep in breath, and then interrupted out breaths, or intermittently breathing normally and then reintroducing the interrupted out breath. So it's as though you're walking down the rungs of the ladder. Just a couple more cycles. And then bring your breath back to a normal in breaths, normal out breaths. And then just stretch your legs out. So after being in crossed legs for a little while, you may feel that sometimes you get a little bit of cramp in the feet. So just stretch your legs away and then lift and open the chest. You can have the feet slightly apart just to give you space in your hips. So lengthen from the hips into the heels, stamping the thighs down, stamping the backs of the knees through, the fronts of the knees through to the backs of the knees, stamping the shins down, lifting and opening the chest. Just normal breathing. And then just come down off your lift. And then we're going to go into Supta Baddha Konasana. So we're going to have blanket for your head, perhaps, because sometimes it feels like your head kind of rolls back. Have the bolster close by, but you're not too close because sometimes it can pinch in your lumbar. Pull your feet in towards you in Baddha Konasana, and then just lift and open the chest as you guide yourself down, just resting your head down. So if there's stiffness in your hips, you can have blocks underneath your thighs. If your head feels like it's rolling back, then you can just fold your blanket over a little more just to give you a more kind of certain lift for the head. If you're wearing glasses, it's nice to take them off. So just feel the lift of the chest and the opening of the chest. It really gives you a good, the bolster in your back just gives you a really good open chest. So make sure that you're comfortable and that you can stay. If you find after a couple of moments that you're not comfortable in your lumbar spine, then just shuffle about until you are comfortable. So come in and out of the pose so that you are comfortable. And then just go back to your breath. Just focusing on your in-breath, focusing on your out-breath. So returning your breath back to just Ujjayi stage 1. Maybe you notice that after the interrupted Viloma Pranayama, perhaps your breath is a little slower and deeper. So in a few moments, we're going to go to stage 3. So that's a normal out breath and then interrupted in breath, followed by interrupted out breath. So you can either do continuous cycles of interrupted in breath and interrupted out breath, or you can do one cycle of interrupted in breath, interrupted out breath, and then just normal breathing for a few moments. So when you're ready, normal in breaths, and then begin to interrupt, starting with an interrupted in breath. So you're walking up the ladder, stopping at each rung on the ladder. Just remembering that there should be no strain. Every now and then you can just bring an intermittent normal breath in. Okay, and then just bring your breath back to a normal rhythm, normal in breaths, normal out breaths, ending the practice on an out breath, just a normal out breath. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. And then bringing the breath back to a normal rhythm, normal in breaths, normal out breaths. Draw your knees towards each other. Push your hands into the floor and then come up into a seated position. So just sit in cross legs and take some normal in breaths, normal out breaths, just feeling that the breath can kind of level out. So Viloma Pranayama brings this kind of feeling of lightness to the body and to the mind. We're going to finish off with a restorative pose. So no specific breathing is required, just our basic relaxation pose. So a blanket underneath your head, a bolster for underneath your knees, and then a couple of blocks just to support the backs of your shins, the tops of your feet, or the backs of your feet. And then come down, just pull the blanket so that it's touching your shoulders. Just let the body release into the floor. Allow your body to become heavy. So we're no longer consciously interrupting the breath. Just focus on normal inhalations, normal exhalations. Allowing yourself to release into the floor, just feeling the supports underneath the legs, underneath your head, feeling the support of the straight line of the floor. So normal inhalations, normal exhalations. As you release the body into the floor, just notice the lightness of your energy rising to the top. Bring your awareness to your heart. Take a few easy breaths. Keeping your awareness on yourself, silently repeat 3 times. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free. Visualize someone you love very much. Hold this person's face in your mind's eye and offer them the same good fortune. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free. Now picture someone that you don't know as intimately. Perhaps a neighbour or a co-worker. And offer them the same intention that you offered and easily gave to your loved one. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free. Visualize yourself as a beacon of light, bestowing your blessings to all beings. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free. Bask in the feeling of connection and joy that comes from offering the love in your heart to all others. Feel the energy that you have created through your gentle practice this evening. Begin to wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bringing yourself back into this pose of Shavasana or supported relaxation pose. And then when you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest. Pull your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a gentle rock from side to side, just a gentle grounding massage, just bringing yourself back into this pose, back into the room. And then just roll onto your right side, straightening the top leg, Just gently come up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Just draw the breath in through your nose down into your abdominal region. Be conscious of the energy that you've released through your practice this afternoon, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, that the recline imposes and the pranayamas bring to the body and to the mind. And then just gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside, that feeling of warmth and lightness, and then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards as you raise your head. Just allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel nice and light on the inside and ready for, oh, not banging your head on the bloody table. Hopefully you feel nice and light and ready to take on the evening. So thank you very much for joining me.